Hey, Region 6. I'm Mike Burnett, and I am the Region Chair for the Kennedy Center American College Theater Festival, Region 6, which, as you know, is Texas, New Mexico, Oklahoma, Arkansas, and Louisiana. I'm excited to be here with you. I am coming to you live from the Native American lands of the Comanche here in San Angelo, Texas. Many of you may remember that the Region Festival was here in San Angelo for 4 years before we moved up north 90 miles to Abilene. And unfortunately, we're not in Abilene this year, but hey, we're going to make the best of it, right? We've had a pretty good week so far with a lot of asynchronous events, a few live events. If you look at the schedule for the weekend, you're going to see that it's packed with all sorts of different events, live viewings, play readings, workshops, just a lot of stuff going on over the next 2 days, and I hope you're excited to be here. A year ago, we were all together in Abilene. Though we had heard of this thing called the coronavirus, none of us realized what was in store for us. For many of us, last year's festival was the last time that we created or viewed theater for a long time. We were thrust into an extended spring break. Our seasons were scrapped, classes thrust online into this weird thing called Zoom, summer gigs canceled, lives changed, and unfortunately, there are some of us together tonight that lost people we loved. I want to pause for a moment of silence to remember the year that never was and honor those who lost their lives due to the pandemic. Thanks. As we move forward into the busy part of the festival, let's keep in mind that we aren't over COVID yet, but it is starting to look brighter. You only have to point to the works that have been shared so far with our festival. Theater has always been a changing and adapting to fit the world around it, and this year was no stranger. We have new ways to tell stories, new ways to share truths. We're discovering the old ways of the radio, but we're infusing it with modern technology and storytelling. And in all this, we're reconnecting with each other and our audiences. Let's recognize and celebrate the 13 productions that we invited to our festival this year. That's one of the great things about a virtual festival. You know, we usually are limited by time and space to 5 or 6 productions. And this year we were able to celebrate with 13 invited productions. We've had the 39 Steps, a live radio play from Lone Star College, Kingwood. We've had Reunion Revolucion Radio from the University of Texas at El Paso. Let Me Down Easy from Sam Houston State University. The Invisible Man from Galveston College. The Theory of Relativity from West Texas A&M University. Radium Girls from the University of Central Oklahoma. She Kills Monsters, Virtual Realms from Sam Houston State University. Single Black Female from the University of New Orleans. Summertime, an Interlude from the University of New Mexico. For Hurting Hands from the University of the Ozarks. The Emperor Jones from the University of New Orleans. Charlotte's Web from the Oklahoma State University, and The Blue Flower from Texas Tech University. Let's also not forget the NPP new plays that have readings this week. We've had the John Cobble short plays. We've had some full-length plays. And tomorrow night at 8:30 Central, be sure to check out the 10-Minute Play Festival. Over the weekend, we still have performances for you to view from our Fringe Festival Edge performances. We also have professional works brought to us from our RED team. These professional works are undocumented and versatile. Our Representation, Equity, Diversity team, RED, have been really hard working at shaping our festival and our region. At last year's festival, we asked a lot of hard questions about ourselves, about KCACTF, what we mean, what we should be, what we could be, and we listened to your answers. Our RED co-chairs, Vicki Lance and Adriana Dominguez, have put in countless hours getting our region and KCACTF as a whole to turn a corner to becoming a better and more inclusive organization. I hope you see a difference in how our programming is this festival. We still have a ways to go, but KCACTF is committed to making a change. Vicki and Adriana are on. Do y'all have anything you want to say about RED?
We're just so excited that there is room for so many voices and opportunities via the virtual platform to bring in national artists that we may not have been able to bring in if we were in person.
Absolutely, and we hope that you take advantage of so much that is up. Vicki and I this morning enjoyed an amazing session. Hair for Black Bodies. It's recorded. It's going to be available, and we were just blown away. So we hope you access all of these works and these workshops that are going to be available. And we do hope that after this, we are going to have our virtual drag show, and we hope you join us for that as well.
Yeah, y'all told us what you needed, and KCACTF is trying to make it happen. We're trying to make our organization, we've been around for 50 years. We want to be around much longer, and to do that, we have to change. We have to grow. We have to listen to you, students. We have to listen to you, and we're doing that. This last year, during one of the darkest parts of the COVID pandemic, Black Lives Matters gained new strengths and demonstrations for change. They're happening all over the country. As a parallel with Black Lives Matter, the We See You White American Theater movement started, and it's opening eyes and starting an earnest conversation in theater programs and in professional theater. That discussion is going to continue here at our festival tomorrow. Tomorrow afternoon at 2:30 to 4:30 p.m. Central Time, we're pausing all festival activities so that we can have this panel discussion. One thing, when you go to one of our festivals, there's always these things going on, and you're pulled in so many directions. Do you want to go to this workshop or that workshop? Am I going to go see this play reading? Am I going to go eat lunch? This discussion with We See You White American Theater is so important that the committee felt we needed to pause everything around it so that it stands solo, so that nobody is pulled in a different direction. We want everyone to come to this conversation. Again, that's 2:30 to 4:30 p.m. Central tomorrow. We want to make sure that you all have an opportunity to be a part of this change, to have your voices heard. So please mark it on your schedule to attend. Y'all, I'm really excited by the work our regional committee has done this year for the festival. Some things look different in the virtual environment. I get it. We're zoomed out, but at least we can come together. And I'm really excited to say that pretty much every part of our traditional festival is here virtually. As we were planning this over the last year, we were looking at what things would and wouldn't work in a virtual environment. And our committee really stepped up, and they said we can have every part of our festival. And so that's what you'll see when you look at the schedule. This festival wouldn't be possible without the work of the Region Committee. The Region 6 Committee is a group of faculty that have worked long hours to make sure that we could offer the best experience for you. And I want to share with you some of the comments that the committee members have about their passion for KCACTF and what KCACTF means to them.
Hi, I'm Chase Waits, immediate past chair of Region 6, and I'm a professor at Lone Star College, Montgomery. What KCACTF means to me is community, enlightenment, engagement, and love. KCACTF helped shape my path as a student and has helped guide my path as a professor. I'm grateful for this organization.
Hi, I'm Elizabeth Biz Nelson, she, her, hers, and I am Region 6 DTM co-chair. I teach at Trinity Valley Community College, and KCACTF means to me investing in future artists and furthering the craft.
Hi, my name is Eric Marsh. I'm the co-chair for DTM. I teach at Sam Houston State University. And the things I love about ACTF is everything. I love what it does for the students. I love what it does for the faculty. I love it brings the whole country together to think about theater.
Hello, beautiful people. My name is Dr. Adriana Dominguez, she, ella, and I am joining you from the traditional lands of the Monsos people, El Paso, Texas. I am co-chair of Representation, Equity, and Diversity for Region 6, and I am thrilled that even though we are dealing with difficult times, that we still have an opportunity to connect and create and, just make magic. So I look forward to connecting with all of you during this time.
Hi, I'm Jackie Rosenfeld, and I am the Region 6 National Playwriting Program Chair. And what KCACTF means to me is finding our tribes, finding the theater artists that we want to continue working with long after this festival, and the ability to collaborate and communicate and be working artists together, giving each other feedback and encouragement, and always thriving together to be better theater artists.
Hi, I'm Megan Harritine. I am the Texas chair, and to me, KCACTF is all about celebrating one another's work, being inspired, and networking with our theater community.
Hi, I'm Rebecca, and I'm your Arkansas State Chair. I'm also a professor at the University of the Ozarks. KCACTF means a great deal to me. It's a place where we can come together to share the journeys we go on and the differences that make us unique. But most of all, it's a place where students, colleagues, and artists come together to support each other. Thank you. Have a wonderful festival.
Hi, I'm Andy Long. I'm the Texas Vice Chair and I'm the Director of Acting at Dallas College, Richland. KCACTF means to me the great celebration of the diverse voices that are in America. It's a celebration where we can all come together to rejoice in each other's triumphs and each other's victories, and celebrate each other's performances.
Hey, Region 6, this is Drew Hampton, committee member at large from Tarrant County College, Southeast. To me, KCACTF is an amazing opportunity for us to get together and celebrate our students and their amazing accomplishments. And also, it's always been for me a reminder of why we do this, right? It's a reminder of how invaluable and magical this craft of theater can really be.
Hi, my name is Jim Means. I'm the chair for the state of Louisiana and the co-vice chair of Design, Technology, and Management for Region 6. I'm also a scenic designer at Delgado Community College in New Orleans, Louisiana. For me, KCACTF has always been that common denominator when meeting new colleagues, professional colleagues, and a conduit for staying in touch for those from my past.
Hi there, my name is Logan Sledge. I am the Region 6 Fringe Coordinator. I teach acting and directing at Centenary College of Louisiana, and to me, the Kennedy Center American College Theater Festival means creative collaboration and artistic growth. Have a great festival. See you on the Fringe.
Hey you guys, I'm Cleo House Jr. and I am the SDI Chair and Director of the School of Theater at Stephen F. Austin State University. What KCACTF means to me is opportunity for you as students, but it also means the chance to see that you're not alone, that there's other people out there who love the theater as much as you do.
Hi, I'm Liz Lacey, and I'm a Region 6 committee member at large, and I teach at Galveston College. KCACTF to me means community. I'm inspired and encouraged by the passion, devotion, and kindness of our committee, faculty, staff, guest artists, and our students.
Hi, I'm Slade Ballou, and I'm the Devised Initiative Coordinator for Region 6, and I'm an Assistant Professor of Acting and Movement at Stephen F. Austin State University. And what KCACTF means to me is an opportunity for our students and faculty in the region to see the full breadth and depth of both the community and the art that exists in our region.
Hey everyone, my name is Stephanie and I'm a faculty member at Ouachita Baptist University. I serve as the co-coordinator for Next Step auditions and interviews. For me, KCACTF is all about community. It's a chance for each of our individual theater communities to come together as a greater community and celebrate all of the awesome work that's going on out there.
Hi, I'm Pia. I'm the Vice Chair of Region 6, coming to you from snowy Louisiana. Can you see that? And KCACTF means to me an opportunity to be able to network, to be able to see some awesome shows, and to be able to support what we do, which is theater. Awesome. Rock on.
Hi, this is Mike Burnett, Region Chair for KCACTF Region 6, coming to you from the shores of the Concho River in San Angelo, Texas, the native homelands of the Comanche. KCACTF means so much to so many of us. I grew up in KCACTF. As a student, I participated in it here in Texas. As a faculty member, it's shaped my career, it's shaped my professional life, and it's shaped a lot of my friendships. I can't imagine life without KCACTF. And as Region Chair, this is my last year as Region Chair, so I guess I better start imagining that, right? Fortunately, the memories, the friendships, those things won't go away, and I'll continue to celebrate KCACTF year after year. Students, this festival is for you. We've just gone through a year like none other, and yet here we are gathering virtually instead of in Abilene to celebrate your work. You've heard a lot of the other committee members say, celebrate. KCACTF is a celebration, and it's a celebration of you and your work. And what a great time to do it. I look forward to seeing the work that you bring to the festival, listening to the conversations that you have in the workshops, and just hoping for the best for the next few days for you as you learn and love this art of theater. Have a great festival. It would help if I unmute. Mike, you're on mute. We want to celebrate you, and we want to celebrate your work. During a global pandemic, you didn't give up. You kept working to make yourselves a better artist, to be a part of the re-envisioning of what theater is and what it could be. Let's celebrate that. Based on what I've seen so far in our festival this week, I am excited to see how you, the students, create change in our art over the coming days, weeks, and years. Over the next few days, share your thoughts about KCACTF with the hashtag KCACTF2, the number 2, me. For this next part of our festival opening, I want to introduce a group of artists that also didn't give up. They looked for new outlets to be creative, and tonight they're going to be sharing with us a live podcast. So I'm going to introduce a Star is Bored podcast. Let's give it up for Ryan Duncan Ayaya. Ryan, I know I butchered that, buddy. I'm sorry. He's a Region 6 alumnus, along with Keith Weiss. And I'm just going to shut up now and let them take over.
Thank you so much, Mike. We really appreciate it. I'm Ryan Duncan Ayala. Keith, you want to go ahead?
I'm Keith Weiss, and we are back at the Kennedy Center American College Theater Festival. We've done a couple of these so far, and our audience this time is Region 6, which represents Arkansas, Louisiana, New Mexico, Oklahoma, and Texas. And I know it's been a crazy week for everybody in that region, so we send our love to everyone affected by the power crisis down there. And we are so grateful that we get to hold conversation today. And our guest this week is an actress, Gina Quintos, whose credits include Emoji Land, A Chorus Line, and the critically acclaimed new musical Soft Power by David Henry Hwang and Janine Tesori. And it just got nominated for a Grammy Award for Best Musical Theater Album. So welcome, Gina. Come through. Pull up to the Zoom room.
Hey!
Gina.
Thanks for having me.
Such a pleasure. Thank you for coming through. How are you today?
I'm doing well. Thank you for asking. How are you?
Whew, we're doing good. I am so infatuated with this community at the Kennedy Center that that is so ingrained in like building on the next generation of artists. And I feel like that's such a great place to start because we're young people, but some of us are like much further along in so many ways. So people such as yourself, I'm curious how you found theater originally. What brought you to theater?
Yeah, that's a great question and a deep question. And I also want to say that KCACTF, that's it, right?
Yeah.
Amazing.
no.
That introduction was incredible, and I'm learning a lot about it with everything that Mike was saying. And I just think, yes, what a celebration of community, what a celebration of artists, and I'm so grateful to be a part of it tonight. I found theater because luckily my mom is obsessed with theater, and I actually started at a very young age seeing my sister in shows, and I then ended up doing a show myself at 4 years old, and it was very eye-opening. You know, I was surrounded by working professionals, artists who never gave up, no matter how challenging it was. And I think it really instilled this belief in me that I could continue on and that I could do it and that I could pave my own way. And ultimately very grateful to have found theater and the community I found in theater.
What artists were you surrounded by?
Well, I did Miss Saigon on Broadway when I was just a wee child. And
You've been part
so
of the Blonde
I,
Canon forever. You've
yeah.
been in it from the get-go.
Yes, I feel very lucky. I feel very lucky and extremely lucky to be around a lot of Asian women, you know, a lot of Asian people in general, but Asian women who I saw were incredibly strong, incredibly talented, and incredibly just so dedicated to the work, so dedicated to the craft, so dedicated to the community and what we are trying to achieve as theater artists. And so those were the artists that I first met and still look up to in a lot of ways.
Absolutely. Some of like my favorite people in my life right now are actually like Asian women who are close friends of mine who are keeping me sane over FaceTime.
Seriously.
Also, I've just noticed like over the past couple of years as like, I grew up on Long Island in a predominantly like white Jewish community and when I got to college, it was the first time I was exposed to like actual culture and like actual people and like people outside of my little bubble. And as I got out to New York, even after I graduated, so many of the people that I admired were like these actresses who were Asian women. And it's for no particular reason other than the fact that they're like so hardworking and so smart and so intelligent. And like I have such a profound respect for like for just celebrating that and like celebrating
Yeah.
them just because they're dope.
Yes, yes, I love hearing that.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So theater is a little weird right now, yeah. We're looking a little funny, and I feel like a big theme of this whole pandemic panorama, whatever you want to call it, has um, been like kind of letting go of things we can't control. You know, things that literally nothing of this is in our power. A year ago today, I was sitting in Abilene, Texas, and now I'm sitting in my bedroom in New York. And so it's tough. Is there a particular moment that you felt like either pre-pandemic, during pandemic, at any point where you felt like you just realized that letting go is kind of the way we have to approach things sometimes, you know?
Yes, that is a great thing to bring up, and actually kind of hard because I feel like
Yeah.
there are days where I can, release that control, and then there are other days where I feel like I'm sort of drowning in something that I
Mhm.
can't control. It's so hard to feel like with so much uncertainty, not only in our profession, in our industry, but just in general and in life. Um, But I think especially as artists, this is actually a beautiful time to cultivate anything that's been inside that needs to be put on paper or put on your camera or put on film or put somewhere where you can just be doing it for you and really be doing it for you. I feel like so much just gets lost. This is speaking from my experience, you know, just like doing the thing in New York, you know, it's just, you get so lost in the hustle of it all. You know, you're trying to go here and there and get this job and do whatever, and there is so much control in that. You have to be controlled, you have to stay on top of it. And I think the beauty of the stillness right now is tapping into what is it that I want to do with theater and as an artist. What is my mission inside of this? Because at some point, you know, it's so important to tap into that. You know, it's so much fun and it's so great to be surrounded by friends and community, but at the end of the day, we are all here for a reason. We were all put here for a reason in this industry and as artists, and to tap into our mission, I think is a great thing to do, and to release control of exactly release control of what you can't control.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, you hit the nail on the head. Before the before the pandemic started, I was on a completely different track than I feel like I am now. And it's all
Yeah,
because there was just things that you can't do anything about. So I might as well just ride the wave and just see where it brings us. And so I think you said that beautifully. Like sometimes losing control is just the easiest way to find what you're really supposed to be doing. And I love that so much.
yeah, I think it finds you, you know, and that's
Yeah.
the beauty of it. Yeah,
Absolutely.
Absolutely making peace with like where you're at in this moment is like so important, and like dealing with your needs, because people's needs are constantly changing, and like what moments need for each person are going to change based on what where you're at. And like there is a beauty to that, and there's a beauty to this, to spontaneity, and to just releasing what you can't control. And I feel
definitely.
like in this moment, like what I can't control is like literally I I am just so grateful to even have a space where there are theater artists at all,
Yeah,
virtually. And I keep finding myself wanting to go back to the stage, but it's like the stage will come, it'll come back, but where is it right now? And like something I'm trying to be really certain of right now is being in the present and being mindful. And
Mhm.
it's easy to like take for granted that people right in front of you, you know, to
Yeah.
take for granted that there are like 30 people watching us talk right now, that it truly is a privilege that like I'm among an audience at the Kennedy Center in any capacity. And that is it. I don't say that to be like to gloat, like look at me. I say that as somebody who lost like a job last year, as somebody who just got the call from the theater that I was supposed to be working at. I would thought I would they were gonna be like, I thought, oh, are we back, are we gonna go touring? And they're like, no, it's your W-2, we're gonna mail it to you. It's like,
mm-hmm.
okay, I
Yeah.
got you. And like
Mhm.
you just have to take those moments as they come to you. Yeah.
Yeah. And I feel like being present, especially in this time, is so much different than maybe being present was a year ago. And definitely for the better. But a year ago, for better or worse, you were here at the Kennedy Center American College Theater Festival with the representation, equity, and diversity programming that is coming out and really being ramped up this year. Um, and a year ago, we had programming, but it's a complete flip on its head as to last year. And so we talked about um, representation of Asian women in theater. Um, let's just talk about the importance of like diversity of storytelling, with the way the Broadway League has been responding to things lately, with everything going on. Let's just unpack that box a little bit. How about that?
Sure. I mean, it's a big thing to unpack. Yeah, I mean, obviously, extremely important, and I think
Mhm.
it's rooted in obviously representation and for stories and a multitude of stories to be heard, and for people to feel like they can be seen and they can be heard in a community in which they belong. Because again, speaking from my experience, because it's the only one I can speak from, but especially as an Asian woman growing up in theater, I thought I had to be one a certain way. I thought I had to look a certain way, behave a certain way, present myself in a certain way, because of how I was represented and because of the stories that are told, that are, that were very much made through the white imagination and through the white lens, and not
Mhm.
coming from a place where Asian people could actually tell their stories. And so diversity in storytelling is extremely important as the people who are storytelling and performing it. Also, it comes from writers, it comes from producers, it comes from the ground up. It needs to start there, and we all need to be open and available to new stories, even if it's not something that you 100% connect with or know or understand or experience. Understand that it is not your experience, and
Yeah.
want to understand the experience. And um it's only in that way that will really achieve unity, right? And achieve this oneness that we all talk about in theater and we
Mhm.
strive for constantly. And yeah, I mean, and I appreciate your podcast because I know that you invite a lot of people of all walks of life to you know
Yeah.
discuss how
Yeah.
we can add diversity and more diversity in storytelling.
Well, it's like when we go to the theater, let's just say we're watching these white stories, right? And we're gonna watch a story about like a upper class British man teaching a lower class British woman to talk. Just replace class with race. And
Mm.
you're basically watching a story while enriching and amplifying other people's stories. And it's basically the same thing. And that's what's so frustrating to me about like why people have such a hard time connecting to stories that are not their own. Like
Mhm.
one of the last plays I saw in New York was Cambodian Rock Band before everything closed down. One of the sickest, dopest plays I saw. It was just like a real merry-go-round of seeing theater. I don't know if you were seeing a lot of theater at that time in last March, but like all the theaters were open because everybody was running away, and I was just like, no, 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 no. I gotta eat all this up. I gotta like
Yeah.
take the time because everybody's everybody's fleeing, but like these stories are getting told, and it was a real shame because you don't really see stories about like Vietnamese people getting told on a commercial off-Broadway stage like that. And you
Yeah.
don't see stories even I got the privilege of working with artists like Stephen Eng, and people from the National Asian Artist Project, on certain developmental workshops. And the stories weren't even about Asian. It was like a Jane Austen adaptation. But
Mhm.
I think my what I would hope we do when we come back is giving both the agency to the heritage of these stories being told by those people who want to tell it, and also giving agency to uh, BIPOC artists and producers to tell stories that would be predominantly white. It's both ends, I think.
Yeah.
Absolutely, Keith. I agree with you 100%. And I also feel like what we need to do more is just um, show humanity of BIPOC, show humanity of BIPOC bodies on stage. I feel like so much
Mhm.
of it is so based on this pain scale, and so much trauma and so much tragedy, and all of that is valid and all of that is very real. And it
Mhm.
doesn't take away from that, though, to also see joy, to also see, this again, the multitude of things that we are able to see in white theater and the stories that are told by white people, I think we should be given the opportunity to tell those stories too. And obviously we bring all of that with us already as people standing on stage who are BIPOC, you know. We bring all of that with us. So I agree, it's frustrating, but I believe that we can work to get there.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, today of all days is probably one of the most perfect times to be talking about it because Thoughts of a Colored Man just got their
Yeah.
big
That
marquee on
marquee.
Broadway, the Golden
Yes.
Theater, former home of slave play.
Mhm.
And I had the just absolute sheer privilege to see the first ever performance of Thoughts of a Colored Man. Um, and
Right.
yeah, because it world premiered at Syracuse Stage, and um, it was just the most beautiful experience that I could have ever imagined. It was my first time working in a professional theater and walking into the very first show that was there, being this beautiful story of men of color, and both their stories with love and joy and trauma and mental health, all of this just combining on one stage. And that's the exact conversation we had of this isn't just a story for Black men, even though it is their story primarily. um, this was a story that um, the white stage manager was like, this is my story too. I had these friends growing up, this is everybody's story, you just have to find yourself in it. And I just think it's absolutely more pertinent now than ever. And I feel like, not to give too much credit, but we're starting off real good. If Thoughts of a Colored Man's going to be the first thing to open back up on the Great White Way, you know.
Yes, definitely. Well, also, the three of us growing up in theater have had to find ourselves
Mhm.
in stories that weren't ours,
Yeah.
and if we can do that, everyone can. And so I think that was a very important point because um, telling our story doesn't exclude people. What we want to do is invite you in. We
Yeah.
want to call you into our lives. We want to call you into our experience. It has nothing to do with exclusion and making one feel like their story doesn't matter, their humanity doesn't matter.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right.
It's always
And
just so fascinating to learn about other people's experience. And
Yeah.
so, I don't know what people are doing if they don't want to be learning about that. I don't know.
exactly, like all these people that go see the same Shakespeare play over and over. I know why you go to see it, because you see a little part of the humanity in that like hieroglyphic puzzle that you enjoy. And I get that. That's like you should want to see that. But it's like actually Jordan Cooper, who is a playwright who wrote Ain't No Mo, and he's a Texas native. He said that there is if you can't have trauma without joy. So if you need both, like joy is the nutrition for that story, so that
Mm.
if you want to really go there, it's important that you're taking care of your artist by making sure that there's joy along the way if it's necessary. But so much lately you're seeing stories specifically more off Broadway, up until the very end of that era of theater, which was our lifetime, um, which was like plays like a strange loop, where you
Mhm.
literally you talk about like any sort of entryway into an everyman. There is so many different aspects of like his queer identity, his fat identity, his black identity, that so many people can navigate and find agency in that, and
Mhm.
validation in that
Mm.
storytelling. And like
Mm.
I talk about this a lot on my podcast, but sitting in that seat at Playwrights Horizons is like a person who at the time was like nearly like 300 pounds, and like seeing a leading actor perform on that stage, I never saw anything else like it.
Mm.
And I really hope that what I got to experience as a white person is what so many people as people of color can experience in a Broadway theater.
Yes, definitely. Oh, Strange Loop was amazing.
Oh, right. Have you
What an
had an
experience.
experience like that where like you saw yourself in a play that you were just watching that wasn't necessarily your experience?
Oh, that wasn't necessarily my experience. Man, that's hard. I mean, yes. I guess I can't name a specific moment, but definitely, I don't think I'd be here if I didn't experience that or feel that way.
Yeah.
I think I've seen a lot of myself in the stories that are told in the canon of theater. Um, and so yeah, it's extremely important. And the representation is so important.
Absolutely. Yeah, and you know, one of the credits that that came up a lot when we checked you out was a chorus line. And
Yeah.
ooh, if like I tell you that Ryan and I have gushed out about a chorus line like a million
Yeah.
times.
I think we have like 2 podcast episodes just talking about a chorus line for the most part.
Amazing.
There's like what, we're on 39, we're on episode 39. I think like, I don't know, 36 of them, like a chorus line comes up somehow. But I gotta tell you, as a 13-year-old, a chorus line came into my life and at this local community theater, and I was forced to learn how to dance and how to sing and how to keep up, and you know, you have that change at the end where you got to get all your shit on, and it's so chaotic and exciting, and it made me into like the soldier that and the vessel that like artists are supposed to be. And I would
Mm.
love for you to speak to your experience with the chorus line.
Yes, I mean, I agree with everything you're saying. There is something about a chorus line. There's like this, I don't want to say love hate because it's not hate, but there's this love, like, it's just this thing where, because it's such a difficult show, I mean, talk about staying on top of it. You've got to stay on top of it, and you've got to, be on top of it, not only during the show, but when you're not doing it, everything, mind, body, spirit has just got to be here. And you've got to take incredible care of your body, but also incredible care of your spirit and your soul, because it can be crushing. And even inside of the show, they talk about what I did for love. What are you going to do when you can't do this anymore? I mean, just the shock, the heartbreak, the challenge of dealing with that all the time, every night. you know you're in the show now, but you're not going to be in it in whenever it closes. And then what happens if you hurt yourself and you hurt your instrument, or you can't do this anymore? What then? I mean, the uncertainty is like a common theme in what we do. But it does make you into this soldier, this person who dedicates themselves to doing it, and doing it with your entire heart. And talk about representation. I mean, so many stories in a chorus line,
Mhm.
so many stories of where of one's history and how they found theater, and what it's brought to them in their lives. And working with York obviously was just such an incredible experience, and quite an experience, playing Connie with her. And yeah, I think Chorus Line is definitely one of those shows. And when it touches you, it stays with you forever,
I'll tell you, I feel fucking unstoppable when a chorus line comes on. I sometimes like I was going out on some dates a couple weeks ago, when I amped myself up to like suddenly I'm 17 and suddenly I'm 7. I like go I it is just some sort of like a battery. I feel like the Energizer Bunny as soon as it comes on, because there's something about that, like that vulnerability in adolescence, that is such a, when you reflect on it. And I mean, obviously I hardly knew what was going on at 13 years old with that show. My
Mhm.
parents even tell me like it was so painful to have you coming to us asking questions about gonorrhea at 13 years old. Like we can't even tolerate that. But they did, and it was because that show, for me, it speaks to the humanity of what it means to be an artist. And you talk about like when you can't do it anymore, like that
Mhm.
that speaks to me so much right now. because that show is not performable right now. It like there sometimes in theater there are pieces of art that are so Nostradamic in so many ways that like speak to something that is going to happen, and being we talk about being grateful for the present. Like that show is an example of something that lives in the present in so many ways. So I am definitely curious, what lesson did you get from a chorus line from working with Bjork?
Oh wow. I have gotten so many lessons, and it was actually my first professional job out of school. And so I was a young person on the road learning so much, and ultimately very grateful to be learning so much through the show. And Bjork really also taught me to keep going, and she instilled a strength in me, and it's a strength that that I felt so strongly because it was coming from a real place. From Bjork, she was an Asian woman doing the thing when there weren't many things for Asian women, um, and now continues to hold that legacy and pass it on. And um, and the guidance that she provided throughout the experience. And I love that you said soldier, because I feel it's so accurate. It's so accurate to the experience, because there are times where it definitely breaks you down. It definitely breaks you down, and I guess it is that type of show that, in so many ways, is the type of show that tell you to keep going and that you don't stop and that you're gonna find where you belong. Yeah.
Yeah. It feels like the chorus line is like the pinnacle of kind of theatrical irony, because it's this show that you put so much love and pain into. And it's a
Mm-hmm.
show at the end of the day that's like about love and pain, but about like when
Mm-hmm.
that love and pain ends. And so it's just like truly they really just wrote it about themselves. And I love that for them.
But that's the
Um,
thing. Yeah, it was so personal, and
mhm.
if you're writing from a personal place, you're a winner.
Yeah, it's I will say, Keith, real quick, you mentioned this isn't a show that you can do in this time. I just happen to know that Texas Tech University is actually doing a chorus line,
Hey.
and I'm like real like not to plug on your podcast, Keith, but I just wanted to throw that out there
Plug
because
it, yo.
yeah,
Whoever is trying to do that during a pandemic is doing God's work. They are doing Dionysus's work. What is it? Who is doing it? Let's say it
Texas
like
Tech
3 words.
University. Yeah, Texas Tech. They're doing it. I don't think it's out yet, but it's coming up soon. And I was just on their website today. This is the only reason I know, and it said performing on Zoom webinar, and I was like, hello. This
Oh
is
my God.
gonna be. I'm
They
so
are
excited for it.
they are so dead ass doing this. Everybody, go check out a chorus line at Texas Tech School of Theater and Dance, April 29th through May 2nd, 2021. You better
Awesome.
come through.
I'm
Whoever is
coming
doing
through.
that,
I'm coming
like,
through big time.
yes, I
But
We
yeah,
absolutely.
all are.
yeah. Um, but let's talk about so I think, and I've held this opinion, and I've fought for this opinion that A Chorus Line is like a perfect musical. But that's a whole other conversation. But there is this interesting dynamic with the chorus line where, because it's about such specific people, and like we said, it's about their story. Um, it's kind of like plug and play with representation sometimes, and which could be an interesting conversation at colleges, anywhere. Um, and I we talked about representation and storytelling, but I feel like there's a bigger conversation about representation um, in the field as a whole. We mentioned the We See You White American Theater movement a little bit earlier, and I just you know y'all have both been in this field and in the city for quite some time, and I really want to just talk about you know how representation in acting and in tech and in administration, and y'all's thoughts and feelings on all of that. Y'all being actors, being on stage, when you see the backstage crew, maybe like the entire production crew is white. Is there feelings that y'all have about all of that stuff?
I mean, I know that we talk about representation on stage, but the people that give agency to theater being created are the artistic teams behind those artists. And when you have a literary manager that is going to be constantly checking on the work of artists of color and checking artists of color, I mean, fundamentally, that is what is so difficult about working as an artist of color in the American theater, is having these like white creatives constantly checking your work or seeing the trauma in it and picking it for that. And that is why down to the dramaturg, down to the designers, down to your interns, down to your stage manager, you need representation everywhere. And when there are blind spots, it is so evident, and I'm sure Gina can speak to that.
Yeah, I mean, hey, let's be real. There have been moments where we've all needed someone to vouch for us too, where we've needed a little bit of backup. Like I feel like I've been in a lot of rooms that have been predominantly white, where I've spoken my mind and have kind of felt like the trouble child because there was no one to back me up, and there was no one to be like, I completely understand where she's coming from, and I completely agree, and we need to do something about this. And so even just from that point of view, it's so important, to have more people of color in a room, because we are in a predominantly white industry. And also, yes, I mean, created from the creative team to everyone who's working on tech or any element of it. We want the entire business to be inclusive, and we want in the entirety of it. It's not just about representation on stage, and also the support and the community that is found in that is extremely important. It's extremely important. And the best moments that I can think of being in theater have been rooms where there have been more representation on all fronts, like you said, our stage manager and our assistants, and people doing the thing, and people running the theater or whatever it is, just across the board.
It's actually really funny that you say that, because I brought up this Jane Austen musical adaptation before that Stephen Eng directed, and it was one of the most efficiently run productions I've ever been a part of. It was 4 weeks long. We staged it in 2 weeks. He left for a week and left his AD, who I think you might know, Francine Espiritu.
Yes.
Yeah,
Amazing.
he was his AD at the time, and he went away for a week, and it was already staged, and she cleaned it up, and he came back, and he was like, "We good?" And we were like, "We're good."
Yeah.
And everybody on the creative side of things who was like directing was like a person of color, and it speaks to the vast importance of giving agency. So on that, on the celebrating Asian American greatness, let's talk about soft power and talk about how you got involved with this musical, and tell us a little bit what it's about.
Oh my gosh, it's really hard to explain what soft power is about. It's about so many things, but it takes place in the year of 2016 when Trump was elected, and and it talks about it follows the life of Hillary Clinton post election too, and in this fantasy world, and while also giving Asian Americans incredible representation on stage, just incredible representation on stage. And yeah, how I got involved, I was in it from the beginning. We started workshopping it, and when we started workshopping it, we had no idea what it was. But I mean, what a dream to be in a room with David Henry Hwang. You know, David Henry Hwang is a playwright that I had been reading. I had read his plays. I had been keeping up with him. He is someone that I've wanted to be in a room with. And then I was there, and he is exactly as anyone would imagine. He is incredible, intelligent, so kind, so giving, so generous. And so was the rest of the team. I mean, Lee Silverman, our director, cultivated such an incredible room where it felt so collaborative, and there was this understanding of, this isn't my experience and this is yours, and I do have blind spots and you got to call me out on them. And you know, she is really just the best for that, because from jump we felt like we did have a voice and we were seen, and we weren't just Asian bodies used as vessels to tell a story that is like drowning in Orientalism. You know, it was our story, you know, and it was our story as Asian Americans feeling like we don't belong because we're not American enough, but then we're not Asian enough. And so who are we? It was a big question of who are we? And also, I mean, the term even Asian Americans, we've just been lumped into one group of people. It like completely strips us of the individuality and the ideologies of our individual cultures as Asian Americans. And so what does that mean? It's almost like we've had to create a whole culture for us, and not play into the culture that was given to us or placed on us. And so it was really an exploration on that. And we actually have a song in the show called I Am. And David Henry Hwang, he has a character in the show, DHH, it's him. And he sings about how I am both. I am American, I am Chinese, I am both. And I mean, when we first heard that song in the room, every single one of us just like, I'm taken back to it. It was so emotional because it was so personal, and it was all of our stories. Every single person, no matter our background, no matter our histories, everyone has felt that way. And I don't think it's ever an experience that has ever been told. And you know, this show was born from DHH actually being involved in an anti-Asian violent attack when Trump was elected into presidency. And it's something that we're still experiencing now, but has definitely started back in 2016 and sparked inspiration for soft power. So it's a long, long explanation, but
No, absolutely. I definitely see that David Henry Hwang is one of those artists who has always been in the nature of putting himself as the everyman, but also implicating himself in so many ways. And like DHH, that's a character from Yellowface, a play that he wrote about face value, which was a play of his that was on Broadway that flopped. And he has always been a person who has been part of the investigation of centering the Asian narrative and finding different Asian identities to weave into those narratives, not creating a single one, like you said, not conflating all of those cultures, but picking them specifically and examining all of them. And just to really reflect on what you were saying, there is an unjust amount of violence going towards the Asian American community, and it is being underreported by the media, and it is so wrong. And I have no idea how that keeps on happening. And you know, I see that like when Jewish people were being attacked last December, it's on the news right away, because you don't forget that shit. But people often with minorities, it doesn't matter who it is. So it's important for all of us to be allies and to just amplify as much as we can. And I'm gonna pass it to Ryan to close it out.
Yeah. And thank you just for sharing that, both Keith and Gina, in that bit. Um, to end on a little bit of a different note. Um, I remember I remember trying to get a ticket to Soft Power. I remember like texting you, Gina, and being like, "Hey, like, how do I get into this thing?" And I was there at the Public to see a different show, and I remember racing across Midtown the very first night I had, like the literal very first time I had been in New York City to try to get like one last standing room ticket, because it was such a hot ticket at the Public. It was.
It was not happening.
And yeah, Hamilton, who? Am I right? But it brought so much attention and love, and so much so that it got a Grammy nomination for Best Musical Theater Album. I just want to, for a moment of joy here at the end, right before we wrap up. How did it feel? Like, you're a named artist on the album. Let's talk about that.
Oh my God. It honestly at first was a shock. I had to read the news like 10 times because I was like, what? That wasn't even on my radar. Like, I was just so excited to have put a show that we have worked on for years on, and we recorded it as the family that we are, as the people that have made the thing together. It is not something that we ever thought could happen. And then of course, when it did, we were like, oh my God, like this is something that can happen. And holy moly, like everyone, I think the best thing about it is that it gives it the recognition, and also more people hear about it, and more people will listen to it, and more people will hear the story, and will hear our voices. And I'm rapping on the album, and I just like I can't even. If I had grown up hearing a young Asian woman rapping on a theater album, I think I would lose my mind. And so to be a part of that and to be that, I mean, it is more than I could ever ask for. And so, the feeling is incredible.
Yeah. It's just amazing. I remember seeing it and just like losing my mind because I was, and I think y'all are nominated with like Moulin Rouge or something. I said, I swear to God, if Moulin Rouge beats out Soft Power, I'm throwing hands. I had a lot of feelings about Moulin Rouge when the album came out. And so I am just so excited and ready for whenever the heck we get award shows back, because at the end of the day, a lot of people like to downplay award shows, but it's where the recognition comes from, and they are important, and it is important to represent people of color at these awards shows. And so I am keeping my fingers crossed firmly until they announce. But we are coming to our time here at the Kennedy Center American College Theater Festival Region 6. And so before we go, Gina, do you have anything you want to shout out, either yourself, social media, anything coming up that you want to talk about?
Yeah, shout out to Gina. No, actually, Baby G. I've been trying to use the little reach that I have on any sort of platform that I have to raise awareness on the anti-Asian violence and that the attacks that have been happening in the AAPI community. And there are resources that you can find on stopaapihate.org. And so I want to amplify that because I do, as an Asian person and someone in an Asian body, want to raise awareness in that. And that is what I want to say. So thank you for giving me the space to do that.
Absolutely. And I think that's something we should all want to try to amplify. And so thank you for sharing that. And Keith, wrap us up.
All right, everybody. Y'all gotta check out Gina Quintos spitting bars on the Soft Power album. You can check it out on Spotify. It's nominated for a Grammy someday. It better be nominated for a Tony. That's my hope. And I thank you all for tuning in and listening to us talk. Thank you so much, Gina.
Thank you, Ryan and Keith. You guys are amazing.
Thank you. And thank you, Mike, for having us here so much.
Wow, that was awesome. Y'all, that just is, what y'all were talking about really encapsulates what KCACTF is trying to become, just becoming a place for everyone's story to be told. And Gina, it was tremendous listening to you. Thank you for sharing your time, your Friday evening with us. That was just awesome. Really, really, really cool. Good job, y'all.
Thank you, Mike. What a pleasure. Thank you so much.
All right. I'm
I'll
going
get
to
out
close
of
it
here
down,
now.
y'all. We have a great event tonight for you starting around 9. Is going to be our Region 6 drag show. It's going to be the same link that gets you in here. If you go back to SCED, I just separated it out. There's a link now for just the drag show. If you are an attendee right now, we're going to ask you to step out for just a little bit, leave the meeting and come back at 9 so that we can set up. Our drag performers can run through a quick tech rehearsal in the next 21 minutes or so. Be ready. These performers are fierce. I saw a little bit of it this afternoon and I am pumped up. If you remember, the drag show last year was our first drag show for Region 6, and it was tremendous over the summer. RED, the Red Initiative, had another drag show, a virtual drag show. This one just promises to be even better. This is going to be great. You're going to love it. So come back at 9 o'clock tonight to that same Zoom, or just go to that same link or to a link in the SCED. Y'all, I'm excited for the weekend. Be ready. Thanks for your time. I hope to catch up with you all soon. Thanks for being here. Now let's go get it.